You're listening to the Today's Eden podcast, episode 6. Welcome back to the show. I hope you guys had an amazing Thanksgiving, hopefully not a stressful one, and you enjoyed your time with your family and your friends and your loved ones. This episode, I wanted to start doing a series where I'm just digging into the issues, the struggles that women face in motherhood, in life, in whatever area, and just kind of open the door to those conversations of the things that we either feel uncomfortable talking about or just don't have the space to talk about those things. And so I kind of wanted to bring some of those topics to light. This episode being the first of many that cover that sort of area. With that in mind, I wanted to have today's guest, Esther Vermillion, be the first to open up this new series. And we are talking about her book that's coming out called HELD. And it is just, I've heard amazing things about it. It's so raw, it's so real, and she is very open and vulnerable. And we just talk about what to expect from this book, why she's writing it, kind of going back into her past and talking about why and how we can find healing and why we deserve it, and just our worthiness, that we are worthy, and not only should we love others, but ourselves as well, just as much as we love others. And I suppose that I started to relate to Esther's story a little bit because I brought up something that not many people know about me, and I almost wanted to go back and edit it out and take out what I had said. But I want you guys to know who I am, and I don't want this show to be super edited. So when I make a mistake, or if I stutter, or if I, bring up a personal story, I want this show to be real and honest and raw because we're talking about those topics. So I feel like I should be as well. So even though looking back at this interview, I kind of think that maybe I shouldn't have brought it up, and I'm not sure why I did exactly, other than I was relating to the situation and it just kind of came out. But like we kind of talk about in this interview, sometimes bringing things up bring healing, and so maybe that was a reason why it came to surface. I don't really know, but I know that I'm not editing it out because I want you guys to know me, the real me, and I want this to be an honest and true podcast because I think you guys deserve that, especially when we talk about these topics, and especially as I go forward encouraging you as women. I don't think that I can keep secrets from you and then ask you to be real and honest with yourselves. So I just wanted to put that out there. And also, I'm just really excited for you guys to hear this. I just think this woman is awesome. Esther is great. She's going to inspire so many, and she already has. You guys, this is truly an amazing episode. I'm excited for you to hear it. But before we get into it, today's podcast is brought to you by audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/Today's Eden. We talk about everybody's favorite books every time they come on the show. So if you've wanted to check out those books, then you can get a free book by going to audibletrial.com/Today's Eden. Now that all that is over, I'm done talking. Let's get to this amazing episode. All right. Hey, Esther, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Absolutely. Thank you. It's such an honor.
So I know you're a busy mama and you have a napping little one right now. So I'm just going to go ahead and get into it. Could you just introduce yourself, kind of let us know a little bit about you and, what life is like right now, a little bit of background?
Absolutely. I'd love to. Yes, my name is Esther Vermillion, and I live in Fort Worth, Texas. Proud to be a Texan, and very proud to be a mama of 4 little ones. I have 2 sons and 2 daughters, and my newest baby is just 3 months old, so it's been a really precious, tender season to have a new baby again, and just soaking that up, the motherhood season all over again. Been married for 14 years, and currently I'm a health and wellness educator, specifically with doTERRA International, largest essential oil company in the world. And alongside that, am a keynote speaker. Greatly enjoy speaking for businesses, for other entrepreneurs, whether it's network marketing, and especially I have a heart for mompreneurs, moms who are just empowering themselves with their businesses and helping other women do the same. So that's been really fulfilling for me in this season.
Right. And I wanted to have you on because you're actually about to come out with a book, your first book, if I'm right, called Held. And when I heard you announce the releasing of the book, I watched your video and yeah, so I just knew I had to have you on because I feel like it was such a powerful message that this book has, that so many women can benefit from. And a quote I read about your book was that it said, Esther ignites a fire within you, so you know your past story doesn't define you, but you can use it to create the life you've always dreamed of. This book is a must read for anyone who wants to go from where they are to where they want to be. You'll learn from the best while becoming the best version of yourself. Um, so before we go into depth about what your book is about, what made you want to write a book like this about overcoming struggles and hardships?
Yes, it was nothing that's been on my radar or really not something that I pursued. It really pursued me as I began to break the silence. And secrets love silence. And one of the biggest lies that especially we believe as women is that we're alone and that we are the only one struggling or whatever we're going through, that we're alone in that and we're the only one. And as I began slowly being able to open up and share some of my past story with a few close friends, and then that leading into just an inner circle of women that I trusted, I was given the opportunity to speak more and more, even on a huge platform of speaking in front of 27,000 people, and to break the silence, not only to spread the awareness about domestic violence and abuse, but to have that huge of a platform and then to be overwhelmed by the response. It was absolutely incredible. And again, something that as I kept on my path of healing, these doors just kept opening up and I kept saying yes to them, even though I was extremely nervous and shy and scared. I just knew as I tuned in, I was supposed to keep saying yes to these opportunities to spread my story of healing. And so after speaking to that large audience, so many from the audience came to me afterwards and just said, Esther, thank you for sharing. Thank you for helping me realize that I'm not alone in the struggles and the hardships or my healing from my past. Do you have a book? We want more. We want more. Will you please write a book? Will you please write a book? And that just, the more I was asked this and tuning in again, it was, Esther, this is what you're supposed to do next. And actually, to be honest with you, I struggled with that for a while because that meant going and being even more open and even more vulnerable, because people need more of the details so they can relate, so they can say, oh, I've been there, me too, and wanting to just be open and help others, but yet be respectful to other family members that were involved in my past situations. So that was a real wrestling of saying yes to that. But once I finally did and committed to that, God has just made that path clear, and I'm super excited of how it's unfolding and coming together.
Right. How have you found that, kind of opening up and using all these different areas to express your experiences in your past have kind of healed you? And how did you overcome some of that healing process that needed to happen?
Yes, I've learned, number one, that you can't overhaul your life overnight. And as much as I wish I could hit a reset button, right? You know, sometimes that we do on our phone or our computer, that it's been a slow process, but one that once I committed to stay and to get on the path of healing and visually pictured that of getting off the other path of being a victim or pity me or these are the cards I've been dealt, and just have to struggle through life. Once I really engaged early in our marriage 14 years ago and decided, okay, what I've been through is a lot, and I don't think I realized the depth or the severity of it until I was out of the situation. And so when I committed, okay, I am going to heal and to fight for that. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what that means. I had such a hunger for that, to get on the other side, and just began asking and seeking. And I love the quote that says, what you are seeking is also seeking you. And as I kept saying yes to each new phase of that, new people, God just brought new people into my life, angels that were meant to support me. And a lot of them didn't even realize the gift that they were giving me on my healing path, of little things they would say, or just an extra hug they would give me, or those that knew nothing about my story or my past, that just loved me for who I was and where I was. So definitely being true to myself with true friendships and having a high standard for those that I really allowed into my life helped me heal and helped me figure out what was true and what was not true. Another part of my healing was, a big part has been self-care and learning to be gentle with myself, be easy with myself, good sleep, good supplements, working with a nutritionist or naturopath to help me with different deficiencies that feed your brain. I mean, it's all interconnected. Our spiritual, emotional, mental, physical, all of the parts of our being are so interrelated. And just the support of my husband, of being able to be in a home and in a peaceful space to where that unraveling process could happen. So the environment was huge for me. And then really focusing on not being in denial about my past, being aware of that, exposing it, writing it down, journaling it, venting it, but really focusing on rebuilding the new friendships, new relationships, new opportunities to give back. That was a big part of my healing, and especially here lately, to be able to speak and share my story has even furthered that process.
Yeah, and I know that you also were in the Navy, so thank you for serving our country. But was that a part of when you decided to join? Was that kind of a part of um, kind of moving out of the situation that you were in, kind of taking control, or like a form of therapy, so to speak, for your situation?
It definitely was. You know, I didn't realize it at the time. I was drawn to it, and we were newlyweds. It was within our first year of marriage, and 9/11 had happened the year before. And so just wanting to, we just kept asking ourselves, what can we do?
Mm.
How can we give back? So that was part of it. And admiring so much of what my grandparents did, of serving in the Navy as well, and feeling the heritage of the patriotic duty. But looking back, going through the boot camp experience, it was a personal boot camp for me. Like you said, it was therapy, and really breaking free into who is the real Esther. And I love to ask people the question, who are you before you were told who you should be, or what you should be, or what you shouldn't be? And as I began to settle myself, and who is Esther before she was told who she should be, and all of these things placed on her and controlled the first century of my life,
Yeah.
the first quarter of my life controlled. So yes, definitely going through Navy boot camp, and that experience was very, very empowering to stand and have a voice, and um, stand as a proud American as well. My goodness, just a cherry on the top.
Right. Yeah. And that's, man, that takes a powerful woman to be able. My husband was in the Marines, and I've seen, the things that he does or had to do for the boot camp. And there is no way that I would have been able to survive, I don't think. So let's dive in and let's talk about what your book Held is about and what we can expect from it.
Absolutely. I first of all, the title held has so many different meanings, and as I wrestled with what name to use, it a story kept coming back to me. A few years ago, I was visiting with a dear friend who was just really struggling, just really in a hard place of life and going through a lot of struggles and hardships herself. And I said to her, I said, friend, I want to encourage you. What is it like when you collapse on your bed for the day and you're just lying there? And is there anything that you have to do to just rest or find peace physically as you're lying there? And she said, no, I just have to lay down. And I said, I want you every time when you get into bed to literally picture your mattress as the hand of God holding you, and you are nestled in the palm of God, and you are being held by Him, and there's nothing that you have to do, and surrender to that peace and that rest that He's given you, that's there for you. And that mental picture for me has encouraged me so much throughout the years, and even in my upbringing and during the darkest of times of deep sorrow. I remember just lying in my bed and knowing God is holding me. And and that's become so apparent to me even more lately, just in this past year of writing this book. So the title has that precious meaning to me personally, and for others as well, to know that they're being held and protected, and addition to that, that I'm not held back any longer, and I will not be held back any longer, and to stand in my God-given power with that conviction and to not be held back. And how can I help others free themselves and realize the power that we all have been given to not be held back anymore? So I go into my story and my upbringing, and embracing the wonderful, good, precious moments of my childhood and my upbringing, and then the moments that were very, very difficult and hard, and what it was like to go through a lot of severe abuse, a lot of physical, mental, emotional, spiritual abuse, and what that does to you physically, what that does to your mind, the and just the confusion of it all, and for others to walk through that journey with me, to where actually what's sad is the domestic violence statistics are huge, and I didn't realize that and how common it is. So I know a lot of people are going to be able to relate to the specifics of my story, and then generally it's for those that have been through any kind of tragedy or any kind of hardship or heartbreak or heartache, and to let them know that they're not alone. And then a lot of practical takeaways of how they can break free, and that struggle, and how it's worth it, and that they have to decide. It's hard either way, is what I found. And I go into that description of, it's just as hard to stay a victim and say, you know what, this defines me, this defined my past, this is going to define my future, I just have to struggle along. Or the struggle of, I'm going to figure out how to heal, I'm going to fight for me, I'm going to fight for my precious life, I'm going to fight for why I'm here and who I'm supposed to be and how I'm supposed to give back, and just empowering people to choose the latter, to embrace that of empowering themselves. So a lot of it is about my story, and then on the other side of how I've healed and what that's looked like and practical takeaways, and how they can see the glory in the struggle throughout it all, and then what they can do when they are in a difficult situation that isn't going away. Let's say they have a health issue that's long term, that they're praying and they're seeking to be free from a situation, and it's not happening. What do you do when that mountain isn't removed that's in front of your life? That when life is hard and you're in a long time of, let's say you've lost a loved one or any difficult situation, how to even navigate through that and still find joy in the darkest of times.
Yeah. How what were the feelings going through this, like going through the writing process of all these things that have kind of built up in your mind and in your heart over time? How was that to finally kind of get it out on paper and then also think about sharing it with the world?
It it was hard, and it still is hard, and I wrestle with that, and um, I guess as I stay on top of the situation with the big picture of, and I'll never forget the other night when I was wrestling with this, and my husband Chad, he said, Esther, you were born to do this. You didn't go through that situation to keep that story to yourself. This is your gift to the world. You have to keep that picture. And I said, that's it. You're absolutely right. This is not about me. This is not about, look at Esther, look at her story. This is about um, just bringing awareness and giving people hope, and really putting my feelings as secondary, even though they're very real.
Right.
And it is scary. It's scary to be that raw and real and be that vulnerable and risk relationships, risk judgment, risk what are people going to think of me, or how are they going to interpret this, and really dropping what others think or how they might judge me, and being so convicted in, I know I have to do this no matter what, and that it will be worth it all, and that my story isn't finished yet, and also the belief that I've had to really, a lie that I've had to remove is, oh well, your story isn't finished yet, so who are you to write a book right now? As I'm still healing myself, to
Mm-hmm.
not wait until I'm older, or my story has unraveled more, but to really just go ahead and go for it now and say yes.
Yeah, I know that I've had I don't well I'm not quite sure, but I've had a similar, I would assume, background as yours, and just through mentoring other women and stuff, I've kind of had to teach myself that exactly like you were saying, is that it's not it's changing your mindset from why did this happen to me, why did God let me have this past, and kind of turning the lenses and thinking, no, like I have this mind, like I have this experience because now I can serve others in their healing. Now I can relate to others who feel like they aren't relatable. And kind of, and so I feel that with your book, that this is going to be a very powerful book, and that so many people are going to be able to read it and relate, and then find healing and find connection where otherwise they couldn't find that connection.
Absolutely. I completely agree. It's going to help so many people, and how fulfilling to for us to stand boldly and together, and just to bring a community together. There's such a need
Mm-hmm.
for us to know that, number one, we're not alone, but to bring awareness, and to let people know how loved they are, and that they do have a future, and that they can heal.
Right. And I feel as women, especially, we are already hard on ourselves in so many other aspects of womanhood, much less if you add struggle or, hardship into our lives as well. But how can we as women learn to feel as though we are worthy of healing, do you think?
Mm.
I
Oh,
know
that's a
that's a
good
hard question.
question. For me personally, I had to decide that I was no longer going to allow people to question my worth, and that I was daily giving my power away um, by just questioning everything I did, just a timid way of being and talking to people, and what I allowed, how I allowed them to talk to me. And we train people how they treat us, and what we will tolerate and what we will not. And I think there's a way that we can be very, very gracious and very diplomatic, and at the same time have healthy boundaries. There's a book I love by Dr. Henry Cloud on boundaries that I encourage all women to read. There's another great one called Toxic Relationships. That's fantastic. And through reading both of those books, it helped me realize, wow, I am I am worthy of healing. And and then to think big picture of the legacy that we're leaving for future generations, whether we're married or not, whether we have children or not, the future generations deserve for us to know our worth and to be able to give back and to know why we're here. So number one, to give ourselves permission that we are worthy, and um, and then I love the scripture that says um, to love others as we love ourselves. And it's a mixed message. We're out and we eat, especially as women, we're the nurturers. We take care of others. But then how do we love on ourselves? Do we ever give ourselves a day where we just go to the lake and sit and read, or an hour at the coffee shop to just let our brain breathe, to truly nurture our bodies and ourselves and our mental emotional state? And I just encourage women to, they will discover their worth the more that they love themselves. And a lot of people have said, Esther, that sounds very humanistic or selfish, but you cannot give what you don't have. And you cannot give from an empty tank. And if we're these beautiful teapots and we have all these little teacups of people around us, whether it's our children or our husband or our parents or our friends, we can't pour from emptiness. And to refill every day and to refuel ourselves and to have those moments of getting a beautiful journal for ourselves and a devotional. And even if it's 5 or 10 minutes in the morning, or if it's in your car, or drawing a bubble bath for yourself, even if it's once a week. And the more I've stepped into that and have literally looked at myself in the mirror, it was hard to do at first, and say, Esther, I love you just as you are. Just as God made you, you are so beautiful. And feeding that day after day after day, I'm starting to believe it. And there's a new light in my eyes day after day, year after year. And that's what I want to give women, and to know that they are worthy of healing.
Yeah. I feel like when you come from a hardship or a hard situation in your past, that you kind of start to define yourself as that, like, oh, um, this has been my life, so this is me, this is what I deserve. And then that's kind of what you just set the bar as, is that this is what my life is supposed to be like, so this is just how it is. And I think that it's hard, especially like you were saying, to for us to even think about sometimes just sitting at the lake, and just, you know indulging in ourselves because without feeling guilty, as well as like then when we go outside of those situations and look for a relationship, say with another person, we just kind of we lower that bar to, oh, this is what I deserve, instead of seeking out friendships and relationships with people who are actually what we would see, I guess, in those situations as better than us, or like, oh, they wouldn't talk to me, I don't deserve them, or so that's I just think that that's probably the hardest thing maybe that you have to overcome in those situations.
For sure, and for sure, and we were taught to that, number one, that we were powerless and that we had no power and had no voice, and to take that power back and to stand in our ground. And I think situations and challenges are going to keep coming up in our lives until we literally stand up and say, no more. I draw a line in the sand, and to realize how precious we are and that we truly will attract what we feel we deserve. And I love to ask women, what do you feel you deserve? And to raise that bar, like you said. And I remember some trainings that I went through, I was asked the question to write down, what do you want? What do you want in life? Whatever comes to mind, whether it's $1 million or a sports car, or working in the mission field, whether it's tangible things, bells and whistles, or basics of giving back to the world. And I looked down, I remember thinking, I don't even know how to want what I want. So I had to back up and give myself permission that it was okay that I had that worth to even ask for what I wanted. And it's such a perspective and mindset shift when we realize that we are we are all kings and queens. And as we walk and stand with a purpose and for a purpose, let that come out. Wow, it's amazing what healing can happen.
Is there anything that you do now daily or that's like a must thing that you need to be able to do, whether it's journaling or meditating or, like you said, doing a devotional? Is there something that you do now that has continuously been a part of the healing process?
Yes, absolutely, for sure. It's maintenance of every day, because those lies or the head talk or the trash talk can so easily sneak back in. And I love the quote that I think Zig Ziglar said, something like, motivation is like taking a bath. It doesn't last more than one day, which is why we recommend it daily. So just like bathing or showering daily is great. Also, that refocusing of every day. And I know for me and others that I've talked to, one of the hardest things for me, that has been for me, is being present. And because growing up, that was not safe to be to be present. It was that fight or flight mentality of I'm not safe, and to be scared all the time of the unknown or what was going to happen next. So for me to practice, like you said, meditation, I love yoga, and it's something I've literally had to force myself to just get out the door, make myself go, have it scheduled in my day planner several times a week of going to yoga or my favorite workout, fitness. That feeds not only my brain, but it raises the chemical endorphins that are healthy for us. So that helps rewire my brain. Really good self-care as far as being conscious of my water intake, and good food, and essential oils, of course. And I'm still, in and out of therapy, just to be completely honest with you. And I may be for the rest of my life. And I view myself sometimes as a car. It's always going to need maintenance. It's always going to need an oil change or a filter change. And I think that's healthy for all human beings, whether we've been through difficulties or not. To how can I up level? And what I love to do is I tell myself, Esther, strive for excellence, not perfection. And we as women, we're so hard on ourselves. If you have to be perfect as a mom, as a wife, as an individual in this image. But I love to strive for excellence. So even with my healing, how can I up level this? What is the better, more excellent version of Esther, and what is it going to take to get me there? What support and systems do I need to put into place to continue my healing? And I break it up into 4 categories. And every morning I will look at what is the top priority for me spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and and then practically and business wise, and then engage in those. And really, I've gotten good about hitting it head on. For example, a few days ago, I was starting to slump down into some self-defeating thoughts, and I have a little 911 first aid kit for myself, because in that moment I forget what helps me. So I'm able to look at that, and where I see on there, go to the lake, call this person, go treat yourself to some freshly pressed juice at the local juicery, and literally just a shift in my environment, a change of scenery with a good book, will do it for me, and talking with a good friend and other resources that I have.
Right. I also earlier you had mentioned, I'm sorry, I'm like think I have so many thoughts now, but yeah, I do. I love that you said that, strive for excellence, not perfection. I don't think I've ever heard that, and but I do think that is like the perfect sentence for I think all of us to remind ourselves with, is that like it's not, nobody is ever perfect. So striving for perfection is impossible. We're almost setting ourselves up for failure, but striving for excellence, that's something like that we can always continuously work on ourselves to be better mothers, better wives, better just women in general. and followers of the Lord, and just in all areas of our life. I think that is an awesome quote. So I love that. But then I also remembered that you said you're becoming, or you were, or are an activist for domestic violence. So what has becoming an activist for that meant to you now?
It's just the heart, that's the heart of it for me, of that hope to give others. And the struggle is real, and it's heartbreaking, what we've been through. And to be an activist for that, a voice, what a gift to bring that full circle and to see beauty has come from ashes, and that my past wasn't just this dark, heartbreaking situation that had no purpose or plan, and to let men and women and children know that they're not alone. And how heartbreaking to realize that the statistics, like I mentioned earlier, it's 1 in 3.
Oh my
And to
gosh.
know that it's that common, I had no idea. And
Yeah.
just in the U.S. alone, every 9 seconds in the U.S., a woman is assaulted or beaten. Every 9 seconds.
Mm.
Around the world, at least one in every three women has either been beaten or abused. And most often, the abuser is a member of her own family. I didn't know
Wow.
that I could ask for help. I didn't know that I could get out. I
Right.
didn't know what was happening. It
Mm.
was my norm. And it's important for men and women and children to know that they can get out, that they deserve better, and that there are supporters and people that will help them, whatever that looks like for them. And just all of the shelters around the U.S., to see everyone rising up and doing that, it's something I want to get more involved in. And
Mm.
if for no other reason, for my story to bring that awareness of, number one, it's not okay. And it's not okay to just accept it or think that it's normal. And then it's not okay to just sweep it under the rug, and or to discount your reality, or for other people to discount that, or for other people to tell you you just need to get over that, or that was in your past, so you're not in that anymore, you just need to move forward. But to help them gingerly hold a space for women, especially, to begin healing and making a new life. So it's just to be able to partner with others like you, Ashley, and other strong women who are willing to stand up and have that voice. um, it's very fulfilling.
Yeah, I did not grow up with an abusive family, but I did in high school end up dating a guy who our relationship was very it was abusive verbally and mentally. And I can remember before dating him that I was always the person who was on the outside saying, oh, when I would see other relationships, like if he's treating her that way, then she just needs to get out. Like, why is she being so dumb? Like, just walk away. And then when I was in the relationship, and I could remember that there was one night in particular where it wasn't the guy I was dating, but it was his parents that ended up putting me in a chokehold against the wall. And it was like then that I was like, this is why. Like, when you're in the situation, it's completely different, and your mind is different, and you can't just, for some reason, tell yourself to walk away. You're just kind of numb and stuck, and you feel like you are alone. And so for you to give a book that actually says, like, no, this is how it is, and this is the reality, and you can walk away, and this is how you're going to do it, I think that is going to be amazing.
Yes, yes, that's wonderful. And like you mentioned, it is. I also read that 1 in 5 teenage girls are in a relationship where a boyfriend is either violent or abusive in some nature. And wouldn't you agree that the verbal emotional abuse, that's some of the most difficult
Mm,
to unravel
right.
and detox from? It's very, very toxic.
Very, yes. I think that it's definitely kind of poisoning to the brain, because you're kind of, with that going on, it kind of makes your uh, mind start playing tricks on who should you believe and what's real and what's not. And so, yeah, I'm just thankful that now I have a godly husband who, he knows my past, and now we make it a point to make sure that he is an example to our daughters, so that way she doesn't have to experience that, or she can right away realize that that's not normal. This is, those are the type of men or boys that she stays away from, and that she can just set her expectations of relationships higher than, than I had. So, yeah.
What a gift.
So, how can we move away from the thought of our past defining us and moving towards creating a new life?
Mm. I think it's just a perspective mindset shift is part of it, of how we see what happened, and that nothing happens to us but for us, and that my past, I am who I am, not in spite of my past, but because of it. And when I owned my story, when I owned what happened, and decided and committed to, yes, like you said, moving away from it, from that thought of it defining me, but in one sense, I'm allowing it to define me in a whole new way. Yes, it's in my past, but it's also in my present and in my future, because that is my story. And to fully own that and take responsibility now, when I couldn't then, or didn't know how to then, to today say, I will not let that define me. And what systems do I need to put in place? What therapies, whether it's counseling or, like I said, self-care or books, to help me make sure it doesn't define me. And that rewiring of the brain process, there's some fantastic brain specialists that work with this now, that help healing happen on a subconscious level. Because a lot of times, I love affirmations and mantras of, this is for my highest good, or I am enough, or I was born to win this game of life. And I think I have postcards like that throughout my home, because it's great to trigger my brain to have the visual of the truth, setting me free daily. But yet, subconscious work is very important. And that's where that true rewiring happens. And that's what's helped me really become free at a rapid rate and not let my past define me. And then that picture of, not in spite of, but because of. And I think also being aware of what we went through, being fully aware of that, but not fixated on it. Like, oh, this is my story, and did you hear what happened to me? Of yet being honest and open when it's appropriate, and focusing on rebuilding the new, will help women not let their past define them. That's been huge for me. Another big factor is saying yes to little opportunities around me every day. I get asked a lot, how did you build such a massive, huge, successful business? Wow, look at what you've came from and been through, and how are you writing a book, and how are you speaking to these large audiences, and wow, you're just so lucky. And I said, you know what, it has nothing to do with luck. Number one, I'm so grateful to the Lord and his healing and his truth that he's pouring into my life and into my heart, that I had to say yes to that. I had to opt in. I had to open the scripture. I had to find those devotionals. I had to say yes to all of those little gut intuition promptings that he put in my heart and in my spirit. And a lot of times we don't create the space to allow that silence to hear him, to hear that voice, to be able to begin to say yes. And so it's been a little thread or a little string of all these little yeses along of, I'm supposed to share my story with this person, and this, and then this, and daily leaning more into the light, versus focusing on the darkness of the past.
Wow, I think that's powerful. Um, so, how can we buy your book, and where can we find more information about you to keep up with you and everything that you're doing?
Oh, yes. Thank you. I'm on social media. I'm on Instagram. It's just Esther Vermillion, and on Facebook as well. I have a public page, and you can find me easily there, Esther Vermillion dash speaker. And then I have a website. It's esthervermillion.com. And if you go to esthervermillion.com/, pre-order, I just for a little bit longer, I have a pre-order promo going on right now where they can get the book at a discounted rate and opt into free shipping in the U.S. and as well as get a little love note, autographed copy from me as well. And I just want men and women to join me in this movement to help me spread this message, help me spread the love of this book, to get it in as many hands as possible to help people change their lives and find healing. So I love to be able to connect with others now, and to see that community growing is such a gift, right? To just relate from human to human and cultivate new friendships.
Well, I just wanted to acknowledge you before we move on to the rapid fire questions I have for you, but just that I just think that what you're doing is super amazing and influential to it's going to be just I think life changing for a lot of men and women who read it. And I think you're definitely brave for putting it out there and for, being willing to sacrifice kind of yourself in a way, to being able to help others. And I think that's awesome. So thank you for creating a book like that for us.
Thank you, Ashley.
So what is the most influential book you've ever read?
Ashley, this is so hard. I love so many books. If I had to say one right now that keeps coming up for me, it's an oldie but a goodie. It's Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and very, very powerful, life changing book.
Mm. If you could empower women in one way, what would it be?
It would um, it would be to realize the power that they have and how to stand in that power and in their truth, and to not let anyone take their God given power away, even themselves. How to not self sabotage.
Mm. Oh, that's so hard.
Yes, right? It goes to the core, that core
uh,
belief.
yes. If you could go back to your 20s and tell yourself one thing, what would it be?
Wow. It would be, Esther, everything is going to be okay.
Mm.
It's going to be okay no matter what. It's going to be okay. And you're okay. Kind of like when you look in the face of someone who maybe just, maybe our child that just stubbed their toe, or someone that just lost a loved one, and you look deeply in their eyes and you say, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And you're holding them just with your eyes and with your voice.
Mm.
That's what I would tell her.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your story and for telling us about your book. I can't wait to read it. I'm definitely going to get on the pre order for that, definitely for sure. But just thank you for taking your time out. I know that during nap time, that's kind of a sacred mom time to like run around and get stuff done. But so thank you for taking your time out to be on with us today.
Oh, thank you, Ashley. It's been such a treat. And thank you for creating this podcast. And what a brilliant way to spread awareness to others, and spread that truth. So thank you again.
Wow, amazing, you guys, right? Ugh, it was so good. And so moving. I hope you enjoyed that episode. I absolutely loved having Esther on. Make sure you go and check out the show notes for her episode where I will link where you can purchase her book. And you can find that at todayseden.com/real talk. There you can find all the podcast episodes with their show notes. And if you get a chance when you're listening on iTunes, review and rate this podcast for me. I would truly appreciate it, and it helps out a lot. You guys, I'm so honored to share this journey with you. Thank you for listening and supporting the show. And as you go out into the week, remember to do what they think you can't do.